on Twitch momentarily.
Can you jump? Yes, you can.
I did make
So be careful, because we wanted to go close, that's why.
So is that the camera?
That's the camera. And then this is what you see. So you're going to
Pepsi Man was a game. I thought it was just an ad.
What kind of food did you get?
The anti-pill one from Joanne. I just want to know if I should add the M or not.
I would because it does.
I'm gonna walk over you.
And it's gonna get all funky, so I would stop.
In the air? Is that airplane?
Yeah, basically.
That's basically me.
I can be around someone who's eating coconut. I just prefer not to.
Wait,
That's fair.
really?
Yeah.
It's...
I'm gonna remember. Did you hear what I said though? I prefer not to.
No, I know. I know you prefer not to, but
If Ron was really fiending for some coconut, I don't know, water.
yeah, right. Yeah, I don't like
I guess you
that.
can pull that.
Oh, that's true.
Can't is a strong word.
That is true.
You said that when I when I drank some pineapple, you're like, you can't kiss earache. And I was like, oh.
Okay, you're right, but like can't is I mean, you could do anything you want physically.
Okay, then I shouldn't kiss earache.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll just read it off.
For their own health safety.
Builds immunity.
It builds immunity. I don't know if it does.
I feel like...
The opposite of it builds toleration.
How do you dunk?
Yes.
Can you dunk?
My mom used to be allergic to milk and she slowly...
Why?
Slowly.
It's why.
So it was an interesting case though.
Yes, she was on lactose intolerance.
Oh, they were
I
allergic.
agree. I was trying to do like X. I was trying to do
Rare.
A actually.
No, they were allergic to
Milk? Are you allergic to milk or lactose? My mom's allergic to them.
They suspect it. Yeah, me too.
What a great setup.
What was stand right there?
No, so
It's streaming. Do a cartwheel.
Is it already streaming?
my C is on.
Do a flip.
it's streaming now.
Wait, sit down and
Sit down.
do a down air beat.
And now it's orange. Is that better?
It's just orange.
Dwarven?
Do a trumpet impression.
Maybe we should make the screen smaller.
No, that's fine. I'll do it.
It's okay. You know what looks orange. It just looks like the lighting is a little orange. Oh, you're seeing it. I can see the light. Does it hurt? It's not. Maybe we can find some sunglasses. It's gonna go. Okay, cool. So you'll be looking towards this. Good.
Yeah.
You're gonna behave.
Searching for your weak spot.
Your pearls. Sorry. Your pearls. I knew that was gonna happen. And you still did it. I didn't know it was gonna hurt that
We're
bad.
gonna use
It
it.
didn't be like awesome. It didn't hurt that bad. It did make me go
Sorry. You're gonna be okay.
No, you're not. They're lying.
Okay.
What is that?
He's having Pepsi.
Yeah, I know.
Pepsi Man.
I bought it my 3DS.
What kind of game is Pepsi Man?
Yeah. It's a PS1 game.
PS1. There we go.
Was it not ported to America?
I don't know what this game is.
It's Pepsi Man.
Pepsi Man. You run and you collect Pepsi.
Yes, Pepsi Man.
To remind everybody, we
You're
are
not
gonna,
joking.
I know Dean said this already, but we are going to be streaming this. So when we're talking, just remember to keep your voices down and listen and be respectful of the panelists.
Got it. Don't say something vaguely inappropriate.
There's no microphone?
I'll say something.
No microphone?
I don't think there is.
Oh, okay.
We don't need a microphone.
I mean, I'm okay because I'm loud.
Yeah, we don't need a microphone. Just make sure that the music is off. The music, the Sonos?
It's not on.
Okay. Just saying, sure. We don't use that. We don't have it. Alright. Ronald, do you feel the heat?
No, not really. Is it on? No.
Dean, whenever you're ready, we're all...
All right. Sorry, hold on a second because the lighting seems dark. That's why. Let's fix this one.
Body flip.
Okay.
Configure video default, and then
Yeah, I'm fine.
so yeah. All right.
I want to sing It's a Smaller World.
Okay.
Oh yeah. That makes sense for this panel, doesn't it? It's a small world.
Hold it.
So hi everybody. This is our event for disabilities in the cosplay community. These are our fine panelists.
If we can spread out just because
Oh,
we
yes.
can't see Kathleen.
Oh.
This way a little
Just make
bit.
sure you're still
Yeah, that's right.
in screen.
I'm on the corner.
Wait, you can see.
No, it's because of your big team. Can't see anything.
Oh boy.
I can do that.
Maybe raise this up a little more,
We can actually.
right? Because
Yeah, raise the screen.
you've been talking the whole interview, or the
It like he clips the way he clips his.
Oh, it's darker now.
There's plenty of
It'll
how's that? Well, raise your head up here.
I'm over here.
How is it on the stream?
You can still see it.
You still see it?
Yeah, I can still see the words kind of. You see like feet.
I see it.
You see it?
I see it, yeah.
It's a little farther. That's why because of the wires.
Yeah.
So hello, thank you all for coming. I just want to say that to start off. These are our panelists. Yeah, I want to, before we begin with the slideshow, I just want to say thank you again, and we hope that this is a great educational experience for you all, and you support us in our future endeavors. This is something we want to keep doing and do future events, maybe with some different topics, maybe with some different people. But yeah, we're just going to begin with some introductions, and then we'll go through everything. So yeah, I think we can go to the next slide.
You gotta press it a few times.
Hi, so I'm Sam, also known as Randomonia Cosplay. Yeah, I've been in the cosplay community for about 17 years now. Yeah, and it's, I would say probably about 8 of those years, actually 9 of those years have been chronically ill. But, you know, it's still fun, and I push through it and with it. It's fun.
That's me. Close my flaps. So I'm Wild Bull Dean. But for short, I'm Dean. Some people call me Dr. Dean because I got my Doctor of Pharmacy degree 10 years ago in LIU. So when I was 17 in 2005, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. At the time, it was DSM-4-TR, and then now we have the DSM-5-TR, and I'm under the autism spectrum disorder. So, but I'm more of the high-functioning side. I've been cosplaying since 2015, and I've been going to cons since 2015, but for Sakura Matsuri, and then I went to Anime Next, etc. in 2016. I've gone to conferences before that as well, and you know, it's cosplay has given me a channel as a way to get away from all the stress, to relieve all that anxiety, and just, you know, take a break from reality, because, you know, there's so much going on, there's so much stress going on. You know, it's very important to balance and to take care of yourself. So I find cosplay to be a very therapeutic.
Hi, I'm Earwig. On Instagram, I'm Earwig's Garage. I am a type 1 diabetic and someone who has chronic spontaneous urticaria, more commonly known as CSU. I've been dabbling in cosplay since 2016. My first convention was New York Comic Con in 2016. I mostly do kind of niche cosplays. Obviously, there's Homestuck up there and Cookie Run, and then just like a little elf of my own creation. But yeah, cosplay has really helped me as someone who has a very, at times, very, very visual disability. It's helped me be a lot more confident in myself and wear things and do things I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't figured out how to do cosplay and taught myself a lot of what I've been doing. I've been interested in the topic since about 2010. I think, yeah, Naruto's to blame for that. So, yeah, and I enjoy it. I love being a part of the disabled cosplay community. I love teaching people about it. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of myself. Okay, this is our trigger warning. We do have some images that if you're sensitive to things that are kind of, in my case, lumps and bumps, and one photo I do have an IV in. So you are going to see things like that. Just a warning, if you're uncomfortable, feel free to step out or look away. We don't want anyone feeling uncomfortable or any of the feelings that come with seeing something that could potentially trigger somebody.
Yeah, like rashes and irritations, just different topical representations of different conditions. So it can be a little bit off-putting for some people, but just like, if you feel it.
All right, y'all. So, what does how does being a disabled cosplayer mean to you guys?
Well, I know for me, since I had started cosplay at a very young age, and I hadn't always been a disabled cosplayer, it truly gives a whole nother meaning to a community, because when I first started cosplaying, it was like early 2006, 2007, and cosplay was still, it wasn't popular and it wasn't as large a community. And at that time, there was maybe one or two cosplay for a cause groups that ended up disbanding because of the lack of compassion and education towards, different disabilities and whatnot. They more so focused on really the big known ones like cancer and whatnot, and more often than not, people would just disregard and say, okay, well, instead of doing the cosplay for a cause events and whatnot, they would just say, well, I donate to these causes, so I don't really need to go to these events. So it kind of brought down that, the possibility for a chronic cosplay community. But as the years went on, I started cosplaying more, and I started gaining more friendships throughout the community. Once I fell ill, I was diagnosed with SLE lupus, discoid lupus, and unfortunately, due to shingles, I have 90% nerve damage throughout my body. So it affected me immensely at conventions, and it started bringing more people to ask questions. It started triggering more, conversations like, I would sometimes use props as a cane for the joint issues from the lupus and from the nerve damage as well. And people would ask, okay, so what particularly is wrong with you? Because it doesn't visually look like there's anything wrong with me. So it started getting me more comfortable with my illness. I started, instead of letting it own me, I owned it. I felt more comfortable. I felt like instead of it being my whole persona, it just slowly just became a little part of who I am, and I accepted it more and more, and my friends accepted it more and more, and then they started, trying to explain to other people instead of just me. They did their own research. They looked into things and whatnot. And it opened more conversation. It opened more understanding. And it helped me work through other things outside of cosplay as well. But it definitely, it gives a whole new meaning to community, like I said before, especially because I gained a whole new perspective of a hobby that I do and a lifestyle I lived. So it really did kind of give me a new appreciation for the hobby and for the lifestyle I had and now have.
So, what does it mean to be a cosplayer with disabilities? It means it presents a lot of challenges, and the challenges can be different for so many people. But out of those challenges is innovation. That someone told me, necessity breeds innovation. So when you're dealt with the cards you have, you become more creative and you find other ways to do other things, and basically it's an art. So you go use what you have. That's how I see it. But when you also go into cons, for example, that also presents more challenges where you have to be more mindful about yourself and your well-being and taking extra care for yourself, and just to make sure you get the most out of it. So what it means to me is that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, basically. So when you're faced with these challenges, as opposed to, let's say, a neurotypical or an average person, you deal with these challenges, but when you overcome them, you become not just an ordinary person, you become extraordinary.
Wonderfully said. I just want to add, wonderfully said.
Thank you.
So, what does being a disabled cosplayer mean to me? It means a lot of things. It means showing that I can do things able-bodied people are able to do, showing that a big part of it for me is just being able to, feel normal in my body. I have had CSU for almost a year now. It's very debilitating. There's days where I can't get out of bed. There's days when I can't walk. There's days where I'll get like hives in my throat and a little stomach breathing, stuff like that. I carry around an EpiPen with me everywhere I go. Creams, all the creams, every cream you can imagine. But being able to, walk out in a swimsuit costume, like in the line of 50 photo that I had up, and be able to show my skin off and not feel like what I've aptly named myself, kind of looking like a Rorschach test. I can go out and feel comfortable because, I'm portraying a character. Who's to say that they don't have the same disabilities as I do? Mm-hmm. Like, you can really do whatever you want. You can be imaginative. You can express yourself. And being someone with a disease that doesn't have a cure, doesn't really have like a known cause to it, I can go out into the world and kind of pretend that I am that character, and that that character can connect to me, and I can connect to them. Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really big deal for me. And as well as, there's so many anime characters, video game characters that you could dress up as, that have all sorts of bionic things attached to them. And I carry a pump everywhere I go because I have type 1 diabetes. And so being able to see a bunch of people who also are quote unquote cyborgs makes me feel a little more comfortable, with people asking questions, people wanting to know more about things. It's like an outlet for education almost, and I really enjoy that.
So how does your disabilities affect your day-to-day life?
So, as you can see, very multiple different photos of things that have affected me. So, more often than not, I will look very normal. I will look like everybody else, in that first photo was a couple months after my original diagnosis of SLE lupus and discoid lupus. Discoid is a topical type of lupus that comes out in the rashes that you see here. Sometimes they blister. I still sometimes get those. Can be an array of different visual looks. Sometimes it looks like I have chickenpox. Sometimes it looks like I have those full rashes there. And other times it just looks like I have really pretty blush on. A lot of the times people will be like, oh, what blush do you use? And I'm like, it's lupus. You know, so sometimes I play around with it to my advantage. But, you know, day to day, it can go from I can run around at conventions for multiple hours, I can go axe throwing, I can run with my dog, and then some days I can't even walk to the bathroom, where I have to physically crawl on the floor to the bathroom. You know, with lupus, it attacks your immune system and it attacks all the connective tissue. So it basically doesn't recognize anything in my body. So it thinks everything is an enemy. So the greatest enemy for me is myself. And that includes really severe joint pain, sometimes not able to move, sometimes it affects my organs. So, you know, it does prove very difficult, especially if I'm doing very elaborate cosplays. And for some people, some treatments include chemotherapy, which I was on in that photo. It was a very aggressive form of treatment. Thankfully now there's other varieties of treatment for lupus. So for anyone who gets diagnosed with lupus, there is multiple things now. So don't just settle, do your research. It does help. Definitely do not just accept one thing. Always, you know, be confident in your research and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And more recently, I was diagnosed with narcolepsy and cataplexy and arthritis, full body rheumatoid arthritis. And that poses even more of an issue. I had been having supposedly random fainting episodes since I was 7, and only now at the age of 28 did I finally get diagnosed. So, you know, at conventions it has happened where I have just get the kind of tingly numbness and just completely collapse, and which poses a big threat whenever I'm doing day-to-day activities. It has happened in the middle of the street. It has happened on vacations. It ironically happened in Paris on the Eiffel Tower. Had it shut down for an hour. I was that one American. But I digress. It is a very dangerous situation. It definitely causes a lot of panic for a lot of my friends and for a lot of strangers. So things that are, you know, good to keep in mind is if you meet new people that you're going to be around often, you know, let them know a trigger word. Tell them, you know, hey, if I say red or if I ask you to grab me, I'm probably going down. Or wear medical ID bracelets. I have several. But yeah, it has definitely affected the majority of my life, but it hasn't stopped my life, and that's really what most people need to take away from that, is that just because you have something that is debilitating doesn't mean you should stop your passion, doesn't mean you should stop your life. So.
I actually agree. So big time. That's why I do what I do, and I'm a pharmacist. You know, I'm not going to let a disability stop me from doing what I'm passionate about. And you know, I agree. And not only does it help you, as I said, you know, what does it make you stronger? Other people will see it as that, hey, you know what? I can do that too. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, but for me, for someone who's autistic, if you met one person who has autism, you only met one person with autism. So there's me, but there's also other people, and that's why it's on a spectrum. So people will have different severities. I met one person where he has speech issues, and then there's other people like me where I talk a lot. So the daily basis for people on the spectrum can actually vary. I'll give you one example. Every single day, I have to be careful because I'm working on my social skills. I'm still working on my social skills. I'm trying here. And you want to be careful, you don't want to say the wrong words. I tend to be direct about things, but sometimes you can be direct, you can still have your message across, but you have to watch what you're saying. The other part is, and I'm doing better at this. Before, I just didn't want to talk to people. I was an introvert. I only like to talk to people who I can trust, because what's going to come out of it. And I learned about it. So now I'm a pharmacist. I deal with the public. Sometimes I get a little bit scared. And there's also another part about masking. So people expect you to do X, Y, Z. Just mask up. Just don't do it. No. That's not how it works. All right, you have to. There are many ways to express yourself, because if you bottle it in, over time, it's just going to explode in some other way, and you're not going to realize it. So you don't want to keep waiting until the last minute. You want to take care of yourself now, all right, even if it's a little bit. So every day, where I work at the pharmacy, a lot of stuff going on. It's like a telenovela or a soap opera. It's never boring. Exactly. If there are times where I have to go to the bathroom and just let me breathe, and that's to prevent a meltdown. There are times where I've gotten meltdowns and I black out and I see myself on the floor at one time. And then there are other times where I ran to the bathroom because I didn't want to physically hurt anyone. And I was on the floor, I was screaming. I had to ask my coworkers, like, what's going on with me? Because I don't know what's going on. Everything's black, and I just feel pain. And they were telling me all this, and I started apologizing about it. So I have my little system. So if I feel certain things change in my body, I'll just say it's a watch, a warning, and then what I'll do is, before it gets to that threshold of getting a meltdown, what I'll do is I'll try to reduce the workload a bit and try to breathe, and I'll just separate myself, because I'd rather separate myself and then stop what I'm doing and at least be able to be aware, rather than just get a meltdown and then your productivity gets affected, and even worse, you feel bad and you don't feel very well, and then you have all these body pains. So that's just one example, but I'm doing my best to get rid of all these meltdowns and all that. And I'll explain this. So we all react to stress differently. The meltdowns occur simply because it's a lot of stress. It's like having a pressure cooker. Like at a certain point, it's just going to blow off. And so it's the coping with the stress, I'm working on it, and the social skills, I'm also working on it as well. So that's the thing. It's every day there's always a lesson to learn, and every day there's always something to learn about. And I also want to say that every day you wake up, say thank you. Just be thankful that you made it for another day, and even if it's a low bar, just know that you made it, because not many people have made it for the next day. And I know it sounds harsh, but let's not take this for granted.
Well, I agree with both of you have said. I think those are some really good points. Yeah, I mean, my disabilities are pretty not visual. They can be visual. I mean, these are, if you can see how bad it can get. These pictures don't really do it justice. I know some people have seen me in person when I've had this and have felt the heat radiating off my skin and seeing how they're thick bumps. They're not like this isn't like you're getting a rash. These are thick raised bumps. These are hives. This
Like
is
burlap.
Yeah, like burlap. It's not like I'll put some cream on it, it's gonna go away, or I'll take one Allegra. No, I can eat Benadryl like candy. And I have. There's one point I think I was taking 6 Benadryl a day just so I could sleep at night. This has a crazy effect on my day-to-day life. There are days where I leave work early. There are days where, I don't get out of bed. There are days when I have to wake up at 6 a.m. To take a shower, or my whole back is going to look like my legs in this photo. Or that's one of the times it's gotten terrible. And it can feel like you have a sunburn, but someone's taking a rake and raking you across the back while you have a sunburn. And then at the same time, you want to scratch it, you want to itch, you want to get that release, that feeling away, because chronic spontaneous urticaria can also it has been known to have a really bad adverse effect on your mental health because of the constant wanting to itch and scratch. You're constantly in pain. I think for a week once, they were on and off, coming and going. So it was constant itching, constant burning, constant inflammation, and it started to affect internal stuff as well. And plus, I've had type 1 diabetes since I was 10 years old. And there's a lot of side effects that come with that. These two, just as an example, these two disabilities don't interact well. They are two things that you can't, it's really hard to have them together. I've taken medications that affect my diabetes, but I have to because I needed to get that rash away. Everyone needs to go to work, everyone needs to make money, everyone needs to make a living for themselves, or just see their friends. So for a while, like maybe 3 to 4 months, I wasn't working. I was just at home dealing with this, spending my savings on going to the doctor. It was awful. It affected the way I thought of myself. It affected the way I thought other people saw me. I was scared I didn't want to wear shorts in the summer. And New York summers, they're awful. I think we all know that they are awful. So imagine wearing thick shirts and pants just because you don't want people to see your skin. You don't want people to think they're going to get a contagious disease because your skin is all lumpy. I've had people ask me if I had leprosy before. I've had people come up to me and ask me if it's appropriate for me to be in public because it was really bad. I've had people get up and move away on the train. I've had people hear my pump and think that I have some sort of weapon on me. So that affects everything. That affects mental health, that affects your physical health, it affects you eating, it affects you sleeping. So it has a really adverse effect, and I think for all of us, it varies so much day to day. We can wake up one day and be completely fine. Let's go do this. Let's run around.
Let's party.
Yeah, exactly. And then literally 5 minutes later, we'll be on the floor screaming and crying because we're having a mental breakdown. So
we're unconscious.
Yeah, like burning, like just everything. So it's just it's such a variation. And that's not the same for everyone. Some people it's constant. Some people it's so rare, but it's
sometimes it's a flare up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like
I have one too.
Yeah.
Psoriasis. So it depends on the body also.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say there are some people where you can get up in the morning and you're energetic, and then there'll be other times where you don't want to get out of bed.
Oh yeah.
Or you just can't like
Exactly.
Me today, I woke up, I almost wasn't able to come. I literally am on so much medication right now. But sometimes if you're able to gauge what your tolerance is, sometimes you can push it, but that's not always the answer. You know, you gotta make sure you take your breaks, because if not, then it doesn't just affect that day. It affects the week.
It affects the week, it affects the month, it affects the year.
Yeah.
It sometimes, at least personally for me, sometimes I'll have about, I do allergy shots every 2 weeks. Sometimes if I miss an allergy shot by an hour, my back will flare up. Or like, for example, I got my allergy shot yesterday. I do it every Thursday. I have some on my shoulders right now and like in my armpits because I was a little late on my medication, and that can really mess stuff up. So yeah, it has a really adverse effect on all our daily lives. But you know, we get up, we keep going because we have to. We all have to,
and we pick our battles.
Oh yes, you have to pick and choose your battles, because sometimes there's just a day where you're like, I'm not winning, I'm not going to work, or I'm not doing this thing, and
that's okay. It's okay to not be okay, but that's the one thing I love but hate about that phrase. It's okay to be okay, but don't live in that moment, don't dwell in that moment.
Yes.
Like, you take that moment, you know what, you have your pity party, you're like, you know what, this sucks, I'm gonna just not today. And that's fine, but don't stay in that place, because I can't even tell you the mental effect affects us physically. Yes. I know for me, oh my God, when I have, because you know, narcolepsy and cataplexy has a severe mental effect. It mimics schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. Mm-hmm. It mimics so many different mental disorders, and you know, impedes your proper thinking process because it affects your sleep patterns, your dopamine, serotonin, everything. And so when I get depressed, it affects me physically. I physically swell. I put the Stay Puft Marshmallow to shame. I get something called moon face, where I look like Jigglypuff on steroids. I puff up and I turn red. And I can barely walk. I cannot move. I can't do anything. You know?
I'm a pharmacist, so that's
the swelling, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a mechanism for that.
Oh yeah, even when I take my anti-inflammatories, it's like a tic tac. I have to take 20 of them just to even see a little bit of inflammation go down. And sometimes last night I was so anxious, and it triggered the fibromyalgia pains, and I had severe neuropathy in my toes. It felt like someone shoved ice picks in them, and it was in all of my toes. I currently have numbing cream right now because sometimes it goes away in like 2 minutes, and sometimes it lasts for 4 days. You know, and the mental impact on your physical and medical state is intense. Never let anyone tell you that your mental state cannot affect you physically, because it has done it has caused flare-ups for me. Yes. You know, and I'm pretty sure it's done for you guys too.
Exactly.
Like, yep. It is such a delicate state.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up. I want to allude to what you said.
Yeah.
All right, it's okay to be okay, and it's okay to be not okay, and it's okay to be in the middle, and it's okay not to know. Yeah. It's very important to be open-minded. You know, everyone's asking, "Oh, how are you doing?" You know, especially with guys. They always, we tend to ignore the pain because we try to be tough, and we try to be, you know, we get egotistic. Well, not all men, of course, you know, but you know, we don't want other people to think we're bad or whatnot. We always want people to think that we're good. So we always say we're good, even when it's bad. But when it's bad, sometimes, you know, in order to take care of it, you have to confront it, and you gotta find solutions to it.
Acceptance.
Exactly, that's right. So that's number one. Because if you leave that alone, that's gonna build up. Just as I talked about earlier with the pressure cooker, it's gonna build up, and then the stress will build up, and you're gonna go crazy. The second thing, boundaries. Boundaries, very important, and this is important both your physical and your mental health. So you have to draw the line here somewhere. I'm drawing the line. Yes, exactly. So if you want to go overboard, boundaries. You have to watch yourself first. Sometimes we always like to go above and beyond. We always see the positives for it. But we miss the negatives of going above and beyond, because sometimes if you stretch too much, you already know what's going to happen. It's going to snap. Just think of just using the least amount of materials building a bridge as possible, making it really long, but you're only using 10% of the required materials. It's not going to last long. So again, boundaries.
Know your limits.
Know your limits.
How does being in the disabled cosplay community helped and affected you?
Oh gosh. I have had positive and negative. So I will, oh man. I had gone to my first Otakon this past August. And it was the first time I ever spent an entire convention in my wheelchair. And I think I had like 6 mental breakdowns because of how the staff and people treated me. Because on the first day, I was using a prop as my cane, you know, and I was rushing to a photo shoot, and the staff decided to start yelling, saying I'm not allowed to take that prop in unless I bring it all the way over, 3 blocks over, to the other building to get it prop checked. Which I showed them my disability badge and I said, I can't make it over there. And they said, what do you mean you can't make it? You're walking on your 2 legs. And I said, I'm using this as my cane. And they said, that's not a cane, that's a toy. And I didn't make it to the meetup at all. I actually ended up, you know, just ignoring everything. I went to the dealer's room and I started getting pain. So I, you know, in the artist alley, dealer's area, I was leaning on a wall and a staff member came over and said, you can't lay there. You can't lean on the wall. I said, I need to. I'm having trouble standing. And they said, listen, you made this choice to walk around. It's not our fault for you to be lazy. And I got so upset, which it would be on my part to, you know, kind of freak out on them. But, you know, it's never right to freak out on anybody, but it happened. You can forgive yourself and you can apologize. But still, I was so upset because, you know, I told her, I'm like, I'm not lazy. I have medical conditions. And she's like, she just kept arguing with me. And she's like, kids these days are so privileged and so undriven and don't know what it's like to push themselves. And I was hysterical crying and pretty much, you know, I told her all the things going on with me, which is not always the answer to do, but, you know, I told her, I have nerve damage throughout 90% of my body. I have narcolepsy, cataplexy, SLE lupus, fibromyalgia, and you're telling me that I'm being lazy. And she just looked at me and said, that's not my problem, and told me to get off the wall again. So I limped back to the hotel and pretty much cried for 2 hours. And it continued while I was in a wheelchair. Had the disability badge with me, had my wheelchair, and the staff got in my face. They were this close to me saying, you cannot go over here, this is a no entrance zone. But other staff but there were signs that said, disability entrance. So I told them in a calm voice, I am disabled. I need to go through here. You have to go on the other side of the line. And literally, I had to explain it 3 times before another staff member actually walked over and said, yeah, no, they have a badge and this is the disability entrance. And this happened several times throughout the convention. So, you know, it was a very upsetting and traumatic convention for me. I was in a lot of pain mentally and physically, but it has not stopped me because I've gone to conventions after that. I'm even going to a convention in February. A little anxious, but excited. I am bringing my wheelchair and my cane as well, because I can walk, as you can see. I can move my legs. So I am not crippled in a sense. I pretty much use like ambulatory wheelchair. I use it when I need it, you know, and you shouldn't have to explain yourself in order to use your medical aid. And it is hard for a lot of able staff. It is hard for a lot of able-bodied people to understand. I've had many people say, but you look fine, but you look okay. I don't look like a dragon or something, but I dress up as a dragon. You know, like just because something does not look a way something normally does, doesn't mean it isn't what it is. You know, it's hard for people to understand. But I've also had great moments. At that convention, I met one of my favorite cosplayers, Brown Bakugo, and he is also a disabled cosplayer, and he gave me a lot of encouragement, and I was able to enjoy the last bit of that convention, you know, because I just had to, you know, kind of reground myself and remember that I do this for me. I do it for no one else. If I'm having fun, I shouldn't let other people get to me, which is, you know, it's hard. We're all freaking human, you know, we are people, you know, our feelings can get hurt, you know, but we make the choice to let it affect us. We make the choice to let it linger with us. You know, if you step in poop, are you going to just stand there and be like, oh no? Are you going to like sit down and roll in it and be like, oh, this is so disgusting. Ugh. Oh, this is so gross. No. You got to step in it and say, oh shit. I'm sorry. You step in it and be like, oh, this is gross. You're going to wipe it off and you're going to walk. You know, if you roll in it, I'm not going to judge you, that's your own thing. But, you know, you're not going to stay there. You're going to move past it. You're going to continue with your day. You might smell it a couple of times, like, oh, I smell it. But you're not going to let it ruin your entire day. You're going to just move forward. I apologize. But yeah, like, you're not going to let it control your entire time. You know, you can take your moments, like I said, like, cry for 2 freaking hours. You know, after that first initial interaction, you know, you take your moments, you pick your battles, it's life. You're going to go through things, it's going to happen, but you make the choice to let it stay with you, and it does stay with you. I still feel bad about things that happened long ago, like when I first got diagnosed. I had an old lady say I was lazy, and that I was lying about needing a cane and to sit on the train. And I just stayed quiet. I got up, I let her sit down, and someone else offered me a seat, thankfully. There are some nice people. But yeah, it's like, you know, it is crazy how many people there are that don't understand, but it's even more amazing how many people there are that understand. You know, when I first got diagnosed, my 2 best friends, I have a lot of admin issues, but I thought they were going to feel like, okay, this is too much. You know, I thought it would be a burden. People will go out of their way to help. They will, you know, people understand. They will make accommodations. Like if you tell them like, hey, you know, I can't sleep on the floor for this convention or something. I can't sleep on an air mattress. Squeeze in with the other person. You know, if you're running around with your friends at a convention and you say, okay, I'm feeling fatigued, I need to sit. I can't keep going around. I can't do something. People understand. You know, you just you can't be afraid to speak up, and I'm like one of the biggest hypocrites for saying this because I am always pushing myself to the point where I'm like, I'm fine, and you can clearly see I'm like dying on the floor, you know, but it's okay to ask for help. It is okay, and it is okay to take breaks, you know. I've had so many strangers, oh my god, I've had strangers, you know, like, I've been unconscious on trains before, or even in convention centers, I've, you know, had fatigue episodes, and I didn't even know the person, they just overheard, you know, me talking to a friend, and they came over, they're just like, hey, like, I got you some Gatorade, like, I heard this, and I'm like, I'll like, ugly sob, and like, be like, you know, but like, you know, people understand, a lot more people understand if you're open about it, you know, and even if, there are nice people out there, and even more so in the community, because listen, we're all a bunch of misfits, okay, in the community. I know when I first entered there weren't that many people, but now there's a lot, and we're pretty understanding people, you know, old, young, male, female, trans, everything, everyone can be understanding, and it makes it so much easier to be yourself with a disability when you're open about it to others. You know, if you hide it, how's someone supposed to know something if you keep it hidden? You know? So there's a lot more good, but you know, you shouldn't let the bad times rule you. And definitely speak up about the bad times, because Otakon, I'm still coming for your shoe. Just saying.
So I definitely agree with all you just said. Yes. All right. So when you open up a disability, I actually have one tip. You know the DISABILITY. You just replace the D with a TH, and you just put a space between the S and the A. You put this ability. THIS space ability.
Oh.
That's what I found. I
spelled that wrong in my head, and it did not make any sense.
Yeah, it's disability in one word. Put the TH instead of the D, and then you put the space between the first S and the A. So like this ability, because it sounds almost exactly the same. This ability, tomato, yeah, whatever. So anyway, enough of that. So just want to put that out there. So yes, I've had so how it affects me. And how it helps me. As I got into more cons, I've actually met more people with similar disorders as I do, and on different spectrums, and for people who have other mental illnesses. And when they found out about my profession, because I'm always open about not only being autistic, but I'm also open about being a pharmacist and being a transit guy and all that stuff. It's just people start to appreciate it, as you said. But I think for some reason they just put another level on me. So, but which is great because they always ask me questions about that stuff, and it made me felt useful, or it made me felt like, you know, I'm valid, because I've had these issues when I was younger. I felt as though, you know, I was an outcast, because we were all misfits. I was considered a misfit. But, you know, they say, oh, who is this? Why is he acting like this and all that? And I guess I'm special, who knows? And but also in cons, there will be people who don't understand my condition for autism. It's for most people on the spectrum, it's invisible unless you see the effects of it, such as meltdowns or such as how people behave with. You know,
like little tics and stuff.
Exactly, with the tics. Not everyone has the tics. I don't think I have the tics. With how people interact with certain behaviors, and how people talk as well, because that could also be in the spectrum as well. Some people could talk a lot. I met someone who barely talks, and it's great. It's great to feel represented, so to speak. There's still, it's not all perfect though, and the reason being is I want to bring that up as well. Also with the staff, and especially with the security, when they don't see it, it's just like, oh, you're making full of excuses and all that. And that's why I always get it, because I don't want to get a meltdown, especially if it's something where if if it's a big place and I don't know where to go, or it's or whatnot.
Overwhelming and overstimulating.
Exactly. So I almost got a meltdown in Javits Center 2 different times. Last year, so near Comic-Con 2022, I was surprised. I had the warning level. My meltdown warning went. There was no meltdown, advisor. Then I went to a meltdown warning, and I was like, "What's going on here?" I've been going to New York Comic Con since 2016. I've been always having a good time. I'm used to big crowds. I take the train every day especially when it's crowded. Why am I feeling stressed out? So it was just, oh my god, and I was in denial at first. I was like, I can't believe this. So I know, but the thing is, I always do my homework before going to cons. So I found a quiet spot. Well, that's what it said on the sign. Inside, I don't know if you want to call it a quiet spot because they didn't close the door.
Oh, gosh.
But lucky for me, I just needed a chair to sit, and I was able to stabilize.
Like you just needed grounding.
Yes, I needed grounding. There are other people on different kinds of spectrum where sitting is not enough. Some people, they would just have to close the door, or some people would put those big earphones to cancel out all the noises. For when it's fireworks, I need those.
Oh,
but thank God I didn't need those ear canceling ones. So it can have an effect, and so it's both positive and negative. Negative in the fact that there are people out there who there is still ignorance going on. There's still toxicity going on in cons, outside the cons, in the cosplay world, and outside the cosplay world. And it's very important to have a support system. All right, we can all start here. If you don't have any friends, you can start here.
I'm a friend
interact.
now.
Exactly.
I have a friend.
I have too many. I have a lot of connection because people ask me about a lot of things. So so it goes both ways, and just to put it in short, it has helped me greatly. As I said earlier in the introduction, cosplay is a therapy, and it's there to relieve stress. But doing it with other people and at cons and doing all these events, cosplay-related events in the cons, it makes it even more worthwhile. And it also helped me cope and deal with reality as well. It's like recharging your social batteries, so to speak, after having your social batteries drained after dealing with reality.
Yeah, definitely.
What they said. They said most of the points I had as well. Big part of being in this community that we've all seen, we all have first-hand experience with, is people don't understand. You're not going to be able to make them understand. And as friends of people who are disabled, don't try to fight their battles. They're still not going to get through to them. Most of the time, people are just fighting for the sake of fighting and feeling like you're getting something over them.
They want to be a fire starter.
Yeah, like they think you're getting some weird special treatment when in reality there is no special treatment going on. It's just the fact that, hey, sometimes we need to go on a ramp, and that's fine. You can walk and go up the stairs. There's literally 3 of them. When I went to CCE, I did have I did notice that it's at the Kalahari, and the Kalahari is a giant hotel. Their service entrances and their disability entrances are the farthest away from the door they could possibly make them. I think our room was on the 3rd floor, and it was in the middle of the floor, and I think I got lost 5 times, and we were there for 3 to 4 days. It's not like a hard thing to find, but when your service entrances and like the elevators are in completely different spots, accessibility is important. Accessibility gives more people access to do things.
Hence the word.
It can be the most joyous thing to go to a convention, and then 5 minutes later I'll be screaming on the ground. I I feel a twinge of anxiety every time I feel a little bit itchy, even if it's not from my hives. So imagine being far away from home and your doctors, and all of a sudden you start feeling like, do I have a flare-up coming on? And then, what do? I can't get my meds out here. I can't drive back to New York to go to the doctor. Like, you gotta prep it. You have to make it accessible for yourself, because most of the time these conventions aren't going to be accessible.
And they're not going to have exactly what you need.
I do wanna thank some conventions for having, like, it's great that there are quiet spaces and other stuff. Most of the time, you are going to have to find that quiet space for yourself, because they are quiet spaces. They are not literal quiet spaces. They are fenced off areas that look like places for grown people to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
So it's such a coin flip for like how it is being in the community. And one of the biggest reasons we're doing this is so there is a bigger community of people who actually get it and who actually want to talk about it and understand and educate. So that's what I have to say about the question. But yeah, it's a giant coin flip. It's always going to be a giant coin flip. And hopefully at some point we can have big groups of people who are talking about things like this, expressing how they feel, making places safer and better for people. But it has to start with us. It's not going to start anywhere else but with us.
If no one starts it, then it'll never be started.
Us meaning everyone here, even if you're not a disabled person. There's so many things that you could do, which we will talk about a little bit later.
We need your support.
Yeah, be a friend.
We need your support. You don't have to have a disability. You can fight for us and we'll fight together.
Yeah.
And because of that, we can have con chairs, we can have con staff actually make, we'll force them to make decisions that could help all of us, not just the normies.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and we can, hopefully they can fix that issue with Kalahari. If we keep,
that would be more of a structural. That's a big thing.
Hey, Kalahari, tear yourself down. I don't know what the solution is there, but
I would say make more reserve certain disability rooms.
Yes.
I know when I went on a cruise, I called them ahead and they said, well, we have specific disability rooms. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
those exist?
Some places do have it. It's kind of a relatively new thing, because I know it's mostly for, the geriatric crew. But if you have disabled friends who need a room like that, you can always call ahead to a hotel, or even sometimes if there's a convention in the hotel, the Kalahari has their own little emergency room, and I think they have a room specifically for people with autism to go and just have a moment. But yeah,
gotta bring more attention to these.
A lot more attention, and that's what we're planning to do in the future. So.
Post them on Instagram, on Facebook,
hey,
Twitter.
You're going to this convention, this is a thing you should know.
Yes.
Even if it gets one like.
If you're going to Otakon, you should know these things.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, I had no idea. It was on day 2. That's when I found a disability booth. It was like tucked in the corner all the way to the left before the actual thing, and I'm like, what? Like I emailed, Otakon staff, like, is there any disability things? Never got a word back. And I went over to them and I asked them, and they were just like, yeah, apparently that has been an issue. But yeah, they were just like, you could rent wheelchairs. The only thing is, if you rent their wheelchairs, it only stays in the center. That's the only bad thing. So like, if you're trying to go back and forth from this, your hotel to there, that might be a little bit more, you might be better off just bringing your own wheelchair or, medical aid, but definitely it is a good thing to know. If you are an ambulatory wheelchair user, if like you get to the convention and you feel the legs, you feel, your back or whatever, go over, explain your disability, bam. That is a good thing, and I hope more conventions do that, because having to bring my wheelchair, I don't drive. My friends drive, and to try to shove my big wheelchair in their car, that's a challenge. So definitely conventions.
You're able to fold it?
It folds, yeah, but it's just
No,
it's
wheels.
bulky.
All the props.
Yeah, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yeah, that's right.
I have a big old Tessaiga that I bring with it, and it's like, where am I gonna put Tessie when I have this big old box here? Big old wheelchair.
If I may add, you know, like I've convention game for a long time. Most, you know, like I don't identify as someone with a disability, but I do have my issues, you know?
Yeah.
And the convention with the most friendly output and like the most disability friendly place I've seen is FlameCon.
Yes.
Yes.
FlameCon is such a tiny convention.
But it's so great.
But
Oh.
it needs more love. I hope you guys decide to go this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It has to agree with you.
Like FlameCon too. But yeah, they have a quiet room that's actually a quiet room.
It is.
And it's far away from the convention. Not far away, but like it's not in the main space.
It's isolated.
Yes.
It's
so
isolated,
and
not too far.
the doors close, and if you even peek, they're like, "Shh, quiet, stay quiet."
Oh man, I love
It's an
that.
actual quiet room. And you know, like their mascots, you know, their mascots are disabled mascots. Like they cater to that crowd, and I just they're so friendly there. So if you want a little convention that you don't gotta travel to, is in Times Square. Go to
Yes,
FlameCon.
it's not just for LGBT. It's basically for everyone.
Yeah, it's a gay convention.
Yes.
But they just cater to everybody, and
They do.
there's no dealer's room. It's just artists.
And that's what I
It's
love.
just artists.
I love
It's
that
large.
so much.
Over
Yes.
300 artists.
It
And
is
it's
so
amazing.
Those are big.
FlameCon is in August, I believe.
Yeah.
It's in August. It's in Times Square. It's in the Sheraton Hotel. It's $50 for the weekend. It's $50 for the weekend. If you're under 21, I'm not. You get it for free on Sundays.
Bro.
If you're 21 and under.
That's true.
But still, like for one day, it's $30.
I'm too upset.
But it's a beautiful convention, and they're extremely like, if you have a wheelchair, they'll help you. They'll make sure that you can get to the right place. Their elevators are huge,
Oh.
so you can actually fit in the elevator.
Exactly.
You don't have to squeeze in, and it's
Is it in the Javits or
No,
like?
no, no, it's not.
It's in the Sheraton Times Square.
Yeah, Sheraton.
It's
near,
really nice.
it's near the 7th Avenue, 53rd Street station on the E&D train.
BX Cosplay will be tabling hopefully. So
If you
check it
want
out.
to know more about FlameCon, there is a website that I suggest everyone look at. It's super duper cute. You get to see their mascots, and also they have extensive amounts of information. Also, of people on the table and stuff. So I suggest looking it out for like all of you.
Yeah. Highly recommend. We found them by mistake, and it's the
Yeah,
best.
same.
We walked in because Liberty City was awful, so.
Yo, what a mood. That happened to me too.
It was right across. They were happening at the same time, right across
Yeah.
the street from each other. So we were like, "Oh, let's check out this convention. It's free." We were on this 21 at the time.
Yeah.
It's free. Might as well go.
Yes.
We had fun 3 hours at that convention. We spent and the entire weekend at Liberty City.
It was so dope, man.
Ever since then, it's been every 2017. We've been going every single year. COVID shut it down for a while, and then we were scared that was going to be it. But they're back, and
back,
it's
yes.
amazing. So I recommend FlameCon.
I want to add something to FlameCon. I went there. 2022 was my first FlameCon. All the staff have capes.
Yeah, they yes. Their theme is a superhero. All their mascots are superheroes.
They're flame. That's
Yeah.
so wholesome.
And if you ever want to enter a masquerade, like a costume contest, it's very beginner friendly. And it's
Oh, that's so
amazing.
cool.
They're very kind. And they have 2 contests. There's one on Saturday and one on Sunday.
Yeah.
So there's
Like, so
different
cool.
opportunities to win.
I still have all the comics from when I
It's
was.
so fun. But yeah.
I know. I love that.
All right, we're doing our. Let's do a sound check first.
Yes.
Oh, yes, so that was what I found out before.
I've been seeing that guy on TikTok.
You know who that is? He did his Among Us panel, yeah.
I saw
Was it Among Us?
I
I've been seeing him on YouTube recently.
I like his guy.
Guy Sensei.
He is one of my favorite. I love
I've been
him
seeing a
so
lot of that
much.
on YouTube.
I just love watching his impressions, like especially the Dragon Ball Z ones are funny.
You gotta check the.
His guy is good.
I love his guy. I love his My Hero. I love all of his.
I'm gonna check the comments.
Yeah, go
I
for
think
it.
there might be comments. Let's see.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Let's see what the comments
Oh boy.
are.
You can press the play video. It's green.
Guys, so you want to play with me?
I thought so. Nevertheless.
So I actually got the privilege of meeting him in person, and he gave me such a pep talk because that was the same day I had that breakdown. He's freaking awesome. I absolutely, he's just such an inspiration, and he's such an idol. I love him. He's dope. He's really cool. So if you ever have the chance to actually talk or meet him, I highly suggest, going to his panels and whatnot, or checking out his page. Like, he is the meaning of overcoming, like, really working with your disability. Like, he makes it an ability. He, like, as you saw, he used his wheelchair as,
The superpower.
yeah, like, honestly, I constantly feel like, you know what, if you have a disability, use it as, like, not use it to your advantage, but, like, make it your strength. Don't let it completely destroy you, because Lord knows he did, he uses it a freaking way.
I remember when he first started, he still does, but he was doing a lot of the My Hero Academia skits.
He makes me weep.
He wasn't making public appearances, and his videos were just in his car from the torso up.
They still are.
Yeah, back when he first started. What was it? Icy Thought on Thursdays. Came from him.
Only Icy Thought on Thursdays.
So
and like My Hero versus DBZ and stuff.
When he started making public appearances, people were like, "Oh, you're in a wheelchair? Like, I didn't know you were in a wheelchair. You were supposed to be in a wheelchair." I'm like, "What does that even mean?"
Yeah, like, do we look a specific way to be in a wheelchair?
And they were like saying like, "Oh, but you're buff," but I'm like, what does that mean?
Are we supposed to be like super like lack of muscle in most places except for your hands?
Like the people from Wall-E. Like they expect us to look like the people from Wall-E, have no bone, like
no bone structure, and be like obese and stuff.
But it's like it's different for everybody. Like it's such a big difference. Everyone who's in a wheelchair, it's so different. Even people who use crutches, other ways of mobility, it's different for everyone. And just want to put it out there. That's a big part of being a disabled cosplayer and hearing things like that. It affects people. So if you hear someone saying something like that, stop it.
Shut it down. Please shut them down, because I've had so many people that have met me in person, and they were just like, why do you look like they'll look at me and I'm like, what's up? And they were just like, I thought you'd be like a lot taller and like be like scrawny with no ass. And I'm like, why? They're like, oh, because like you have an illness. And I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm still a person. Like I happen to have a lot of curve from being Spanish, but like I don't have a flat ass just because I'm in a wheelchair. I'm sorry.
One of the weird,
my apologies.
A lot of things for feminine people who are in wheelchairs. A lot more comments are made about feminine people in wheelchairs than masculine people because obviously because of societal pressure that is put on women to look a very specific way.
I was for Otakon, I was in a bunny suit. I was doing Buddy Suit Ganyu, and I'm wheeling around. I was so disturbed by the amount of, they thought of it as positive attention. No, screw that, no.
It was so uncomfortable. Like, I'm sorry. Like, thanks for the backhanded compliment. Like, wow, you look so sexy to be in a wheelchair. Thank you? Like, what? Yeah. Thanks? I'm sorry, like, am I supposed to be ugly in a wheelchair?
I think,
You know?
yeah, one of the worst comments I've ever gotten has probably been, wow, you dress really nice for someone who has such a bad skin problem. I have a shirt that says, man, I love fishing. I don't even look that nice. But to make a comment in a place where this was at a place of work, not where I'm currently employed, just at something I was working at. I think I was at PuchiCon, and I was in a maid dress, and I think I changed, and I remember changing out of the maid dress into that, having that comment, and then changing back into the maid dress, because I was like, I'm not getting any comments in a maid dress, but I put a shirt on that says, man, I love fishing, and jeans, and immediately I get comments from people I don't really know. And plus, I think I just got an oral surgery on my teeth, so you can't really respond to people when they say that. You just kind of slump away and put your crap back on because you're like,
sounds.
yeah, because how are you gonna respond? And just in general, there's not really any sort of response you can give that's going to make you feel better in the moment, which is why we're trying to stop language like that.
Yeah,
I do want to point out though, he has a TikTok.
He is awesome.
I suggest you follow him. Eden, this is for you. He's doing a lot of Chainsaw Man stuff.
Yes,
so
a lot of chainsaw.
Check him out.
He honestly does so many. He does a huge variety. So like I said, he's done from My Hero, Dragon Ball Z, big OG, to what was it? Demon Slayer. You know, he goes all over the spectrum. But definitely, he's just so cool. No, it's just fun.
I want to add on something. Even I never use a wheelchair, and I never had a cane.
Yeah.
So this is at work, and I couldn't believe this. So I had to bring it up because I actually relate to this, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm always working in the back, all right, because I'm a pharmacist. When I come out, and then when I was seeing with patients, I had one patient tell me, "Wow, I didn't know you have legs."
What the fuck?
You're disembodied behind the camera.
What?
Oh my god.
So I've been having legs ever since I was born, and I'm not taking them for granted. I got to take care of my legs.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have legs, how am I able to go from back and forth all over the place? I just float like a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? Honestly, I actually have a friend who actually does not have legs. He was actually born without his legs, so it's literally just from the hip up.
Is he floating?
So it does. Sometimes he does actually mess up because he worked at GameStop for a while, and what he would actually do, because he has a remote controlled wheelchair. So he would lower the back, and he would just kind of just glide across, and it would look like he was just floating across the table. And he would just be like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" And he would mess with people, So it's it's such a weird thing to joke about, because it's as someone who does use a wheelchair and a medical aid, and if you're a friend of someone, you know the boundaries of the jokes. As someone who uses a wheelchair, I know you were being playful with that comment, But if it was someone who didn't know you and the comment, so that's why it's okay when you're amongst your friends and you use it with your friends. But it is comments like that, absolutely, you saw I laughed my ass off. So it's comments like that where you have to be careful.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
No, and this was a perfect example of that. So with your friends, using those jokes and those comments is totally fine if you know your friend's boundaries. But if you're in a different scenery and you happen to make a passing joke or a reference like that, it can sometimes trigger people. Or like even using the term cripple, like I use it for myself. And I'll, sometimes if I'm joking with my friends, if they have like an illness, I know the boundaries between that. But if a stranger is just like, oh, look at that cripple, I want to unfold my cane and just, yay! I just want a cane with them, and
I hope you do.
Regardless, I might have once, but no disclaimer there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But yeah, no, it's that terminology where you have to be so aware of the words you use. I know I'm always aware. It's just like, with anything, with mixed company, with, if there's multiple genders in one room, if there's multiple races, if there's multiple religions, it's the same concept where you need to be aware of the words you use. Like if you are, amongst multiracial people, you might make a joke that you're okay with you, but same person, like I make a lot of Spanish jokes about myself, but I know not to make it in front of someone that I don't know, because I know I'm a Puerto Rican, I don't look Spanish, but to someone else, it's very offensive, so it's the same thing with the disabled community. You want to, be aware of the words you use in the comments,
Yeah.
So can we go to the next turn?
So I just want to say I did just discover this person last night through Sammy and Dean's help. Dean and Sammy both know this person.
Such a sweetheart.
They're Sailor Joe Star Cosplay on Instagram, and I suggest everyone go follow them because they have some of the most adorable cosplays I've ever seen. Come on. Yeah. Gallo? You're not gonna follow them for Gallo? You gotta follow them for Gallo.
And they also make such cute acrylic stuff.
Yeah,
they just opened their Etsy with all the acrylics, and I personally like wearing some of the jewelry they make.
Just a way to support someone else
Yes.
who's disabled. Go buy their products.
Absolutely, as a disabled store owner on Etsy, please help us because I don't have. That is my job at the moment. I'm still trying to get on disability. Please, we all need help. They are such a sweetheart. I love you, Jen. I love you.
They also just for like. Some of the ways they do their costumes are really intuitive. I think they have a really if you like design, if you like clothes, I suggest you follow them.
They do a lot of good color.
Yeah, they do even non-cosplay-esque stuff.
Oh
is
yeah,
very decora.
They do a lot of decora, a lot of just in general very, very broad spectrum of fashion. Very fun. And the thing I love that Jin does, they always work their medical aids into the cosplay, and they make it work. Like they have different accessories for the cane, change the colors, change the style, different pillows and paddings for the wheelchair. I've been using a wheelchair for a while. Like they give me goals for stepping up my medical aid, designs and whatnot.
Yeah. If you want if you want to see how some disabled people design their medical aid stuff,
this is a nice place to look.
Their Instagram is full of pictures with their cane, full of pictures with their wheelchair. It's full of pictures of them just having a good day and just being themselves. I suggest everybody gives them a follow. Again, it's Sailor Joe Star Cosplay, and these are only two of some really, really incredible cosplays.
And as a disabled cosplayer, I've gone to the aquarium with them, and sometimes I have to keep up with them, because they don't let their physical ailments stop them. They don't let it stop them at all. They still go out, they still go to conventions, obviously, and they still do regular normal things like go to an aquarium, go to a park, go to go to the gardens and stuff. Like, you know, your life doesn't stop. You can still have a ton of fun. Oh, what a queen. What an actual. Oh.
Yes.
I can see we have some fans. Colleen Cosplay, they are on Instagram and they also have a YouTube channel. I highly suggest going to their YouTube channel to check out their videos. I really enjoyed watching some of them, and also they yeah, their stuff is just crisp and clean, and I mean, Dean found this photo, but this is one of my favorites that they have done, which is Mari. I mean, come on, look at that fan. That fan is so beautiful.
Right?
Like, and yeah, they also they use canes
Crutches.
and
You don't even
crutches.
see the crutch.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
You barely notice it unless you're like really looking. You barely notice the arm crutch.
Which is,
You make it work.
Exactly.
One of the best things I appreciate about Colleen Cosplays and everyone else on this list is that sometimes you don't even in a photo notice the wheelchair or the cane, which all of these people, I think it's like you pull a little bit of attention to your disability, and then you're pulling attention to the fact that, damn, I make really good costumes.
Like, you look hot.
Yeah, like, and you know, most people, we're probably making about 100 more decisions than someone who doesn't have any physical ailments are during the day. So imagine working on a cosplay while you have about 100 to 300 extra thoughts than the normal human being running through your head.
Is this cosplay going to work with my medical aid? Can I actually go through this area? Is this aisle wide enough to bring my wheelchair through? Do I have to have my cane with me so I can lock my wheelchair here and walk through? Are they going to allow me to lock my wheelchair here? Are they going to allow me this large metal object? Because Lord knows security guards love to just yell at you if you have metal items. Even if it's a cane or a medical aid.
Yeah, also, as a person who has to regularly slather themselves in gel creams and regular creams to just live a happy life, the crowdedness and brushing up against people is something I definitely fear, because, you know, people don't assume it's cream.
And the fabric, and also the fabric of the cosplay.
Yes.
You have to consider all the fabrics.
Yeah, when you have a black shirt and white cream, no. It's, yeah. Yeah, it's disgusting. It's really
disgusting.
I saw someone actually cosplay their own wheelchair to look like a car, and the person wheelchair drives.
And that's what I'm saying, literally. So I'm doing something similar for Copticon. I'm decorating my wheelchair in a bunch of leaves because I'm cosplaying a disabled character. You know, I'm decorating this. I have 2 canes, so this one I can decorate as much as I want. You know, and I'm bringing different decorations that I can, you know, Velcro onto my wheelchair and onto my cane. You can make it work. It's fun.
Speaking of disabled enemy characters. So these are, we chose some to talk about. Some disabled characters, and obviously in video games and animation. And just a quick shout out, there's so many more.
Yes.
There's so many. You can find them on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon.
Find them in books.
Anywhere.
Manga,
comics.
like regular American comics.
There's
many.
There's the LGBT characters list on Wikipedia, and there's probably the.
There is
There is definitely
Yes.
Sometimes they're in both.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
the lines cross.
That intersectionality, but
They intersect.
Take us to a show.
so yeah, we have
Yes, that would be me. So, actually the character I was just starting to talk about that I'm bringing Mikatsu, her name is Clay. She is the first character I have ever fully, I actually cried when I saw her story and heard she's in Genshin Impact. She's part of the Sumeru arc or chapter, whatever. The Archon stories. So with Cosplay, she originally was, there's a group called the Harbingers, and this has been out long enough. If you're worried about spoilers, then I'm sorry, that's on you. Okay? This is all part of Sumeru, so if you haven't played Sumeru and you don't want to be spoiled, close your ears. Look away. Look away! The Harbingers did experiments on her with her condition, and basically at some point she had journeyed off, and Tainari, we love our big fox man, we love our papa, our pawpaw, get it? Because paw. Anyway, he started to take care of her, and her condition affects her topically and systemically, which immensely relates to my conditions. So, in one part of the game, when you are with, the traveler, Paimon decides to try and, playfully tickle Cole, and she freaks out. And she runs back to, her little hut and whatnot, and they don't see her for a while. And so Tainari begins to explain that she has a uncurable condition, a chronic illness, as you will. And it affects her topically and internally, where she gets severely fatigued and her body starts to hurt. And fatigue, let me explain one thing, fatigue is not being tired. Fatigue is entirely different from being tired. When you are fatigued, you physically cannot fight it or look past it. Being tired, you could sleep, or you could drink coffee, or you could just push through it. Fatigue, you physically cannot fight. And that is a huge trigger word for a lot of chronically ill people, because when people try to relate and say, oh yeah, I'm tired too, let's just walk over here and get coffee. We can't do that if they're fatigued. So never compare tiredness to fatigue, and never tell someone who says they are fatigued to get over it. You can't. It just takes over you. So with Cole, her condition causes really bad fatigue and painful, kind of like scabbing rashes on her skin. And she gets embarrassed when people touch her, because also it hurts and irritates. So when they went to apologize, she was sleeping, she was recouping because she did too much. Which, as someone who has a condition like that, I can do a lot of things, but when my body decides, okay, you've had enough, sometimes I will be sleeping for 14 hours every day and be exhausted still, and have to go through that same routine of sleeping for 14 hours for about a week or a week and a half. And, the thing I love about her is that it does not stop her from being a forest ranger. She still goes out, she still, studies, she does the research, she studies under Tainari's guidance and whatnot. It does not stop her, she still stays productive, and, she just continues doing what she's doing and doing what she loves. So that's why I immensely love her. Highly suggest playing it. It's fun.
She's also green and cool.
And she's a healer. And she's a healer.
That's really cool.
Yes.
Too bad I'll never play Genshin.
Just wait for the anime to drop.
Yeah, seriously. Or just watch the gameplays. Like, they have all the cutscenes of the stuff.
The same animation studio as Demon Slayer.
Yes, exactly.
That's really cool.
I'm so hyped.
Yeah.
And also, Among Us.
Among Us?
Slay!
Yes.
That's my character.
Demon Slayer.
Yes, that's right. So Guillaume, so unlike me, I'm I'm blindfolded. He's legally blind. Yes.
You didn't know?
Yeah.
Let
Oh, go
him
ahead.
speak.
Go.
No, let you speak.
All right. So he's blind. He can't see anything, and he's actually probably the strongest Hashira of all of them in the Demon Slayer Corps. So this is kind of a little bit spoiler. He wasn't introduced too much in the beginning so far. All you see is just Giyu. That's my other I cosplay him, and then there's also Mr. Flamboyant, Tengen Muzui. So we haven't seen too much of his story yet, but a little spoiler, he will play a bigger role. You know, if whoever read the manga, he's coming. All right. So I also want to share another thing. With blind people, what happens with a lot of blind people? Does anyone know?
Sorry, what?
There are other senses heightened.
Their other senses are heightened. What are heightened? What's a notable sense that's heightened?
Like hearing. Like
Hearing. Yes. So yes.
Yeah.
So that can relate with other people who are blind. So they will rely on noises. So when you cross the street, you'll see those. So that's for the blind people, and you know they will use sound, and they can sense it from anywhere. They can even sense where objects are based on the sound, because sounds bounce from matter. So when you have more stuff in a room, particularly if it's a smaller room, you know sound is not going to be bouncing as much. But when you have an emptier room with bigger space but less stuff, it'll make more of an echo. So I don't know if you were able to catch it. So and number 3, since he was very powerful, I kind of relate to that. So the only difference is having different disorders or disabilities. So he's blind, I'm autistic. So but you know we still have that passion. We still have that determination to keep doing better. And now we've become like one of the top. Look, he's one of the strongest. For me, you know, I got my doctorate, of course, and I'm practicing something that I'm passionate and I love about. And people ask me questions about, as I said earlier, with medications and all the other things. So that I kind of have a connection with him because, you know, you can have a disability, but if there's something you want to go for and pursue, do it. All right. And there are many ways to do it. It's not just one way. You don't have to take it with an average person way. You go in what cards you're dealt with, and you roll with it. So that's my part.
No, I'm doing the slides now. Do I press the button?
Yeah. That's like an arrow key, and you just press to the notes, let all the photos keep going. There you go.
I'm over here now. So,
Do you want to come back here?
no, I'm doing this.
Okay.
But this is my character. Or like just I like Edward Elric a lot. I used to have his haircut when I was like 6. Obviously, he for people who know, I don't want to spoil if you haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, but his backstory is him and his brother got into an accident. His brother ended up losing his entire body and becoming basically a robot, and Edward lost his arm. So he has this really neat metal arm now, which if you can see in the corner the gif of him turning it into his I forget what specific weapon it is called, but it's like if y'all have played Assassin's Creed, it's basically like that. And yeah, just in general, he really doesn't let this slow him down. Obviously, by the gif of him eating the food, it doesn't slow him down. He's very determined to do what he needs to do. There's not a crazy amount I can say without spoiling the majority of the show. All I can say is, yeah, he's a great example, and please watch Brotherhood. Just watch Brotherhood.
I can watch Brotherhood. I've only watched
to support. We have, we'll come back over. But the two that I want to just quickly let people know and talk about are the American Diabetes Association and CSU and U. The American Diabetes, yes, all the way up there, the American Diabetes Association, it's educational and also has multiple different links and ways to support on the website. They do a lot of research. They are the leading people doing research into curing type 1 diabetes. A little information about type 1. I don't have type 2 diabetes. This is not a dietary thing. This is not from eating whatever. That's not that. That is, my white blood cells ate all of my insulin cells in my pancreas, so it does not function. I carry a box on me that is basically my organ outside of my body. So there's a lot more information there about what I deal with, what a lot of other people deal with. I think it's like every 23 seconds someone gets diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And then CSU and U, this is very new. This is pretty new. It's run by this woman who I think experienced chronic spontaneous urticaria for about 30 years before anyone had any sort of diagnosis or answer for her. And I think now she's like 54 and is just getting help with this chronic thing that she's had basically all of her life. And yeah, there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of mostly the medical terms for what I experience. Stories about people like age 6 who deal with this. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of people who experience chronic spontaneous urticaria. It's very rare. But yeah, it's great if you want to learn more about it. There's not too many places to donate. They don't really have a donating page or button, but it's really great to just teach yourself a little bit about what some people may experience.
So I want to talk about, the first thing is AAPD. So, oh man. I need my glasses for this. American Association of People with Disabilities, that's your universal federal organization, and it's tied to the American with Disabilities Act. So you can actually join there, and you can also you can use that organization to pursue with bills and laws so we can get the help that people with disabilities need. The other part that's close to me, since I deal with a lot of mental health, is NAMI. It's the National Alliance of Mental Health. So there are many different kinds of chapters. So in this case, it's the New York City metro area. So it's also an organization you can join. You can also go there for resources, for mental health related resources. So I thought I'd bring that up.
Man, I wish I knew those too. This is the first time I'm hearing of those two. I am kind of addressing Lupus Foundation of America. So they actually do a lot of outreach programs. They actually, I know in October, I might actually try it for the first time ever, hopefully if my knees allow me. They have something called a lupus walk, where basically you just, I think you donate or you walk a certain amount, something like that. I don't really know much of the details because I forget frequently whenever I look it up. One thing to know with lupus, with connective tissue, when you swell a little bit, it does actually mess with your memory and thought processing. So I apologize if I seem a little out of sorts. But yeah, they have all kinds of cool little outreaches and stuff. But that's the one I know most of. Is the Lupus Walk. So if you like walking places and you want a nice day out, I highly suggest signing up for it. It supposedly it brings awareness, and they do donations. Again, I don't fully remember how it works, but supposedly it's fun. I don't know. I've never been. Yay!
So now we're gonna open up the floor if people have questions for us. Before we do that though, I do wanna ask that if there are any super personal and invasive questions, that you do not ask them. We're not here to delve straight into all the gritty, gross details of our stuff. We're here purely to educate you and help you understand. So really personal questions aren't appropriate or could be very triggering for us. So we'd like to stick with more of the simple questions. And if there's a question we're not going to answer, we're going to say, sorry, I don't feel comfortable answering that or something like that. It's not a slight to anyone. It's just we know our boundaries.
You don't want to talk to us about what you talk about with your doctor?
That's confidentiality.
They're a pharmacist, they know.
Yes.
But definitely, like, if you ask us a question and, like, we gauge it, like, I know I'm pretty open with certain things, but if we gauge it and we're just like, you know what, I don't really want to, respect it, please.
But please raise your hand if you have a question, and I'll just call on people. If there are no questions, that's also fine.
Yeah.
We have another.
Do you want to check the chat?
Yeah.
You guys want to
yeah, we check the
I'm
chat.
gonna check the chat as well.
Yeah, that's it.
I forgot we were streaming on
What's
Twitch.
up?
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, I did too.
did as well. Like, I saw the camera on, but like I didn't even realize.
So no, they're not. I didn't see any questions.
Okay. I had a question, and it would be great if it came back. Hello?
Wait. Oh.
I had a question, like 4 seconds. And I don't remember it.
Was it about Edward Elric?
Maybe.
Do you like Margaret?
So please, questions, anything about also relating to disabilities and cosplay group.
Yes.
Where would be the best place to buy your equipment?
Ooh, that is a very person-to-person thing.
Yeah,
At least for me, because I live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Most of my money goes to going to the doctor and buying my medication. Not a lot of it goes into, I buy the cheapest things I can for my cosplay because that is what I can do and that is what I can afford. So it really varies.
Yeah, like,
I'm gonna ask that we're doing questions that talking stops in the audience. Thank you.
yeah, like I know for me, I mean, it doesn't matter now, but like my dad, when he was around, he kind of took one of the wheelchairs at his old job and brought it home for me. So if you're able, no, it was just like, they were gonna throw it out. Oh. So, yeah. No, it wasn't someone's actual wheelchair. No. Don't steal from each other. No, if there's a company throwing something out, a lot of the time they will allow you to look through things. I know also I have bought pretty much most of my canes off Amazon. This one currently is off Amazon and it has gotten me through 7 years. I only just invested in a new wheelchair, actually with birthday gift. But yeah, this one folds and then opens.
Can I get the link to that? I actually need one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll give you the link. But yeah, on Amazon they have tons of cute ones. They have ones with wider bottoms. They have ones that can rotate. So it has like a adjustable ball joint at the bottom. They have sturdier ones. I have quote unquote designer canes that my brother had actually given me money. There's a specific cane designer. I wish I had the card on me, but it was at the Renaissance Fair. I actually have 2 types. One has a hidden flask in it, in the handle, and then there is another one that actually has a chair built into it. It splits into a chair.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes, so those are definitely, you can get really nice ones. that aren't breaking the buck, or you can get super cheap ones on Amazon. Or again, if you go near medical supply stores, there are ones that are just regular stores. Sometimes if you are really, broke boy funds, you can always ask. Some places will just give it to you if they're throwing them out, or if there's, a large surplus, sometimes they discount them. Or you can also call your insurance. I know, definitely if you call your insurance, you explain your disability, sometimes they actually can lead you to supplies foundations, or they can, bless you,
Thank you.
or they can actually, they go into their own resources and can find providers for that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any resources for where we could donate mobility aids? Because when I tried to donate some crutches that I had, it was at a shelter, and they I went to 3 different places, and none of them, they were like, we can't accept any medical equipment.
Yeah, that's difficult. Yeah. So when it comes to donating personal items like that, unfortunately, it is really difficult. I'm still looking into trying to making a Facebook group that donates. They can donate. I have at least four different types and sizes of crutches, about 3 different air casts for both legs. I have multiple, aids that I only really just need one of each. And I'm personally looking into making a Facebook group, almost like how they have like the cosplay for sales and whatnot. Just kind of trying to make a safe place where people can donate or trade or just be able to provide those mobility aids. So, if anything.
So we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I don't know of any places that actually does take donations, but like I said, that's why I'm trying to make that Facebook page.
Yeah.
So it is more available for people who really need it without having to drop $300 for something brand new when someone's just throwing it out.
Yeah, I had to end up scooping it. I felt really bad.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate because it's just, there's so many people that need these mobility aids and there's no place to really get them from. So I'm actively trying to create the Facebook page for it. So.
Also, if you have any friends who need them and want to give them a cool gift, spray
Yeah.
painting it pink and putting sparkles on it is a great way to spruce up any
always,
mobility.
always decorate it if you know they like certain colors, certain designs. If you're a graphic artist, go ham. Decorate that. There's lots of different ways to go about it.
Just be careful with the internet. So
Yeah.
if you do a Google search, you never know if it's going to be on a different business. So you always have to verify, go through everything, go through all the websites, make
Do
sure
all the resourcing.
do all the resourcing, do your research. Give them an old-fashioned phone call.
Yes, especially because there are actually a lot of scams as well. When people try to supposedly donate, they actually just resell them. So it's definitely always try to make sure that if you're going to donate, which again, that's mainly why I want to make the Facebook page, to really help people in my position. Definitely, as long as, and also don't donate something if it's going to break. Like if it's on its last leg or something, it's not going to help a spoonie, it's just going to break them more. Especially if it's a crutch or a cane, especially a cane. With wooden ones, I always like to test the durability before ever, passing one off to someone and whatnot. Definitely check for wear and tear, if they're splintering, just grab some sandpaper, sand it down. If it's wooden, if it's metal and there's, broken parts, just try to, if you know how to heat things up and just tape it. It's just make sure it's in usable condition, because it's not going to be helpful to someone if it's going to break on them. It's going to make them feel way more defeated than they need to, But yeah, definitely.
Do we have any more questions? Because I think we have an announcement before we get to the next part.
No questions? Okay, hi, I'm here.
Hi.
Like 5 seconds.
Hi, Ash.
Dog decided he didn't want to be on the right side, so. BX Cosplay is going to be buying some pizza. But I know everybody has their own stuff. We are supplying 4 pizza pies, but if you want your own items, you can go to the back where Cindy is, and if you want to order something else, totally good.
I got it. No.
Don't touch
It's so sweet.
Yeah,
That's good.
he didn't touch it. He was going to. Anyway, like I was saying, we're ordering on Domino's. There's pastas. There's sandwiches.
Domino's?
So if you want your own thing, that's just on your pocket. But we are supplying 4 pizza pies and soda. We're gonna soda too.
That's the
Pizza?
We can get both. We can get one regular one. We'll probably go across the street because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's better to just go to a bodega.
So we'll get a diet and a regular one.
I'm getting Walmart.
Yeah, so if anybody wants something before we start our activity.
Oh, there's something we want to bring up. I don't know if anyone heard of spoon theory?
Spoon theory.
We're about to start talking about it.
Yes, sorry.
So our activity is about spoon theory, and we do have a little slide and a photo before we start the activity group if you want to see it. I'm going to stand up for this and stand over here because it's a very big slide.
All right.
So Dean, if you want to explain this slide was made by Dean, and I think it's an amazing slide, so can we all clap for him? Yes, there we go. I've seen this. Take a look.
All right, so before I go and talk about this, spoon is a type of currency. Think of it as cash, all right? But instead, whoa, okay. Instead of using a credit card, okay, you're just going to use singles, all right? And each single will be 1 spoon, and you're going to go for whole spoons, all right? So as it states, the type of action determines how many spoons you need to use, and each person is different. Some people can take a shower and only spend 1 spoon. I heard one person takes a shower and uses 8 spoons. All right. So depending on how intense the activity is, the more intense, obviously, the more spoons you're going to need to use. And everyone has different staminas. So the rule of thumb, if you're going to do an activity, you lose spoons. If you're going to take a break, whether it is sleeping or just resting, or in one website I saw, you drink a cup of coffee, you get more spoons. So one example I heard from one of the spoonies was someone resting for 30 minutes equals 1 spoon. But again, it could be different. Maybe 1 spoon, one hour of resting is 1 spoon. All right, next slide. There's another slide.
Yeah, the next slide is a video, and we're just going to watch this 3-minute video that it's by a person who's disabled explaining spoon theory. So we're going to watch that, and then I will explain our little activity. So, please enjoy.
Explaining a disability often feels like grasping at straws, or spoons. There are visible disabilities, and there are invisible disabilities. Some you can presume with a quick glance, while others exist below the surface. Many exist in between. I'm lucky in a way that my main disability, cerebral palsy, is pretty obvious if we're face to face. But the effects of my other disabilities, particularly those that are less overt, can be harder to explain. When I'm bedbound because the temperature has shifted 30 degrees in 2 days, it can be really difficult to effectively describe what I'm experiencing. To make things simpler, some disabled people use a cutlery metaphor. It's called the spoon theory. Let me explain. Christine Miserandino came up with the idea in 2003. She has lupus. While at a diner with a friend, she explained how much energy it takes to live with a disability. She used spoons at the table to demonstrate her point. Here's an example with some everyday tasks. Getting out of bed? That might take 1 spoon a day. Taking a shower? 2 spoons. Cooking? 3. Getting through a full workday? 8 spoons. And going out with friends? 3 spoons. Here's the problem. You only have so many spoons every day. And there isn't an expedited delivery service if you need more spoons in an emergency. To complicate matters, I don't start every day with the same number of spoons. Some days it's 30, and I can glide through my day, get everything done, and, if I'm lucky, relax. Other days, all I have is 2 spoons, and they're gone. Fast. The number of spoons a task takes can shift day to day as well. Sometimes it takes most of my energy to get ready in the morning. It can take 2 hours, with help, just to bathe and get dressed in the morning. Using spoons to visualize our energy output helps non-disabled people understand what we're going through. It also helps demonstrate that having a lack of energy isn't a moral failing. One of the most insidious ways ableism sneaks into disabled people's lives is by slowly cutting us off from friends and family. It's all too easy to exclude disabled people out of a sense of inconvenience, but when that happens, it can leave us feeling unwanted in general. I know it can be frustrating when your friend bails on your birthday party at the last second, but they may be choosing between going to your birthday party and going to work the next day. Don't cut them out. Don't stop inviting them. Listen to their needs and adapt as needed. The more you can support your spoony friends, the better. Ask them about their energy levels and what accessibility issues they may have. Plan events for accessible spaces and build in extra time so there's not a frantic dash from food to that movie. Less stress and less steps means less spoons used, or at least that's the hope.
Yeah, so that is spoon theory. I think it's a really amazing video. I can link it to anyone who wants to have another person as something to use. Our activity, so it's all over there, and it's completely optional for people, but we are going to be making spoon charts. So this is a not very good example because it's not realistic, of at least me, but you can. I will also pass it around, but it says Eric spoon chart, and it has my spoon limit at the top, and then it has a couple of activities and how many spoons it takes up. So work for, like, say I have 10 spoons. Work for me takes up 5 of my spoons, so then I have 5 left to spend on the rest of my day. And 2 of those can be used making dinner, etc. Socializing, generally for me, takes a lot of spoons. I'm not super good at it, so it's going to use up a lot more of my spoons, and generally I'm left with no spoons at the end of the day. Making art a little simpler. It uses 4.5 spoons, so I have a lot more spoons to use throughout the rest of my day. And there are scissors, and there's cardstock over there, and colorful spoons for y'all to cut out and make your charts. I would love to see what you make. Again, it's optional. But yeah, that was our presentation. Now we just have the activity. Thank you. Yes, we have our duck.
Yeah, it didn't even play the song.
And it was jingle. It was supposed to be a little noise at the end. But yeah, thank you for listening.
One more thing.
Yes.
I forgot to. The video didn't bring this up, but if you have 0 spoons and you still want to do more activity, you're actually going to be using spoons from tomorrow. So you have to manage your spoons, and you can still take a rest. All right, so that's something to bring. That's very, very, very important. So if you're doing a lot in one day and you're using spoons from tomorrow, you may end up maybe with 2 spoons rather than 30. All right, and it's different for everybody. I start myself with 100.
Also, doesn't have to be spoons. A fork can be 2 spoons, a knife can be 5 spoons. It can be whatever utensils you want. Christine just used spoons.
Yeah, but
and
spoons are the best utensils.
they're round and they're smooth.
They're the best
That's
ones.
the way I think of them. But
They're the best utensils.
if people
No.
like to come over, if people like to come over here, everything's set up. You just have to cut things out, and I will.
Pick a stool, pick a chair.
I probably have one.
I'm gonna run the class with this one.
Oh my god. Yes, I really, I know.
You guys know what I'm talking about. I love it so much.
Let me see what this is. I can't even zoom in with this.
What is like a normal amount of spoons?
There was one side I saw, they said to start at 20.
20.
Yeah.
Did you just take my stuff? Is that your stuff? I thought you were sitting here. No, okay. Is someone sitting here?